I want to invite on stage the brain behind the infrastructure that you see every day. His name is Ionut. He's from Webit. Let's welcome him with a huge round of applause. And the next contestant, he's from Atlas Navi. You all know him. Let's welcome Grama.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Very glad to see here so many faces. Let me introduce myself. My name is Ionut Avram. I'm the founder of Webit Factory. We help companies to digitalize their business operations for almost 10 years now. And for the past 5 years, we are heavily invested in blockchain, in research, development products, and helping Web3 companies through our expertise. I'm very glad to have here with me George. I'm here at the ask of Andy. Thank you very much, Andy. I'm not really used to this kind of talks, so I had to do a research on how to do it. And I found out that I need to put some uncomfortable questions for George in order for you to know more about the man behind of one of the most successful projects in Romania, Atlas Navi. Hi. How are you?
Hi, Ionut. Hi, everyone. Thank you for the kind words. I'm very good, and I'm honored to be here today.
Nice. Let's start easy. And I'm just, if you want to tell a bit about not Atlas Navi for the people that might not know what the project is about and how Atlas Navi differentiates from the other competitors.
Sure. So I'm the founder and CEO of Atlas Navi. We're a drive-to-earn AI navigation app, competitor to Waze and Google Maps. In a very short summary, what we do is we take the video feed from the phone's camera or a dash cam connected to your phone, and we analyze the road to better understand things that could cause problems in traffic. We analyze that using computer vision / AI, and we use that information to reroute other drivers. Because we get that information, we reward users. The data that we get from these users, we basically use that to monetize it with our partners, be it smart cities or car manufacturers primarily, or automotive partners. That's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Yeah, nice. So, George, recently I read an article about you. I made a due deal about this, and there's an article from 2022 with the following headline: From Azuga to Los Angeles and back. So, yeah, this would be, I think, the shortest professional description history ever. Can we dive deep a bit into this one and maybe talk about your history? What have you done before Atlas Navi?
Right. Yeah, so I did grow up in Azuga. Anyway, in short, we started off, I think from a professional standpoint, we started off, one of the most successful projects that we ever did was Star Taxi, which was and still is a taxi ordering app. We started that in 2011. It went really well. We got some funding from traditional venture capital funding, and we expanded that to various cities around Romania. We managed to do a successful exit, given that it's still in operation. And we then took that software basically and licensed it all over the world to other clients. So basically what we did is software as a service model. If you wanted to launch your own Uber or delivery app between 2015 and 2020, you would come to us. Within 2 weeks, you'd have everything online, mobile apps for drivers, clients, payments, background checks, everything, you name it. So we did that for about 5 years to almost 100 clients around the world. Like we launched rideshare apps in Liberia, in Malaysia, in the US, and other countries. So it went really well, and it gave us the funding to basically. By that time, I had moved to Los Angeles, so that's why the article mentions Los Angeles. It basically gave us the opportunity to look ahead what's coming in transportation. So around 2018, we purchased our first autonomously equipped self-driving vehicle, basically. So it's a vehicle that's equipped with the sensors and everything to drive itself, but it doesn't mean that it can drive itself everywhere, obviously. So we realized we were way too early in the game and way too small and didn't have the resources to build something that could be a commercial success. But it did give us an opening into a lot of opportunities. So through that, we got to work with some smart city initiatives around Los Angeles, California, and from that, in a way, when you look back, you can't connect the dots as, looking forward, as Steve Jobs was saying, you can only connect them looking backwards. So in a way, it made sense. It makes sense now, but at the time it didn't. But through that, we got to work with some smart city initiatives. They asked us basically to, we did a demo with the car. Sorry to get into this, but I think it's relevant. And they said, hey, this is really cool, but we can't use a self-driving car. Like, it's very limited, obviously, and it's not even your tech. You just bundled up a bunch of tech, and we can't do anything with it. But we really like the fact that your cameras can scan the road and everything. What could you detect with them? And we were like, well, what do you need as a city? And they said, hey, we want to detect graffitis on buildings and trash on the side of the road. American people, when they want to get rid of a couch, they just dump it in front of the house, and the garbage trucks have to pick it up. And potholes and other things, license plates, of course. And we're like, hey, yeah, we could do that. And that was around 2019, I think, 2020. And we did a pilot with them. They paid us for the pilot. And, America being America, they said, we love it. We want you to build a product or camera with a GPU in it and computer vision algorithms to detect all these things. But we want that mounted on our city cars. So all the parks and recreation cars, the garbage trucks, everything, police cars, everything. We want you to put this in all of these cars. And we're like, great, how many cars? And they're like, it's about 85. This is Lancaster City, about an hour away from LA. And we're like, okay, cool. So we get working on that. We placed the order with a Korean manufacturer of cameras. We purchased like the hardware and everything. And this is, by now it's like 2019 at the end of the year. We sent developers from Romania, because the whole development team is and has always been in Romania. So we send them to California to work on the product and everything. And they're like, we discussed the terms of the contract, everything is agreed. And then it's a $1.8 million contract. So, it's a lot for us. For them, it's not that much. And then COVID comes, like literally 2 weeks before we were due to sign with them. The budget was allocated and everything. It fell through. It didn't happen, okay? So we were left with a bunch of cameras and devices and, the disappointment that you feel from this. But we were lucky enough from that to apply for a grant with the European Union, which we eventually got, to build what is today Atlas Navi. And we learned a lot, even from those failures, to come, to arrive where we are today. And that's how Atlas Navi was basically born, because that deal fell through. Because otherwise, we probably would have never built it. So yeah, that's kind of how we got to where we are today. In terms of statistics, we're over 750,000 downloads, all organic. 150,000 daily active drivers all around Europe, primarily Romania, though. It's going pretty well, but yeah, it could do better. Yeah.
That's amazing. Congrats for all the
Thank
great
you.
job. I want to circle back about your experience at Star Taxi. I'm very curious about the investment process, because at Star Taxi, you somehow experienced a traditional investment process through equity and so on. And comparing to what you did at Atlas Navi with launching a token, having a private sale, a public sale, how do you compare these two? What was the struggles and the benefits, let's say, between these two kind of investments?
So I'm very much biased because we, you know, very early on with Star Taxi, we saw what Uber was doing and what other apps were doing in the West, and we basically said, hey, we should do this here before they come over to Romania, and that's what we tried to do. But it was very easy for us to raise funding at the time because you had a proven model that worked and raised tremendous amounts of money in the West, and it was very clear that you needed that in you know, the wave is gonna move east. And we basically pitched a few angel investors, and they pretty much came up with the money. They had a VC form, but you know, in essence, they were a bunch of angel investors. I think the average Romanian angel investor and VC even, they usually, in my opinion, take up quite a lot of the equity in the company too early on. And I understand why. I don't agree with it. I think it's very different from the traditional Silicon Valley model of funding. We didn't have a lot of issues with the investors, mainly because the product was working okay and it had a success. So 2 months in, I remember now, 2 months after we launched, we had 19,000 orders a day in one day. So, you know, that's, I can't remember how old I was then, but you know, we were quite young, and me and my co-founder, we were, you know, very happy, and everything was going well. So the investors, we didn't have a lot of problems, a lot of conflicts with them, but I do hear a lot about traditional investors who go in and they give you a few hundred thousands of euros, and which is a lot for the fund because the funds are quite small in this part of the world. But then they put a lot of pressure on you to execute the business plan or whatever, however they see fit. And I think that's, I saw actually yesterday, I think that creates a conflict between investors and founders, and you have to be really, really careful who you select as an investor. Ionut of Khosla Ventures, one of the most successful VC firms in Silicon Valley, was saying, I saw that yesterday, that 90% of VCs don't add any value to a startup. And there's this post on LinkedIn about that. And you know, that's beyond the money. So they give you the money, but then no other value. I think if you want to raise money for your startup through a VC, it's ideal if they have the connections to take you to the next level, you know, be it expanding internationally, access to, I don't know, if you're a B2B company, access to corporations or decision makers in companies. So I think that's more important than just the money. Otherwise, if the business doesn't go really, really well and there's friction, that can cause a lot more problems than not taking that money, basically. It would be preferable not to take the money. And there's another thing that happens when you don't take the VC money and you try and manage on your own, in a sense, be it with bank loans and lines of credit and European funds and everything. You kind of decide very quickly, does this work or it doesn't? I'm not going to put more money into this. When you have $3 million in the bank to sort of, the runway is 2 years ahead of you, you tend to spend a lot more money on things that don't pay out compared to when you don't have that money and you're forced to make the most valuable decisions based on how much money you have. So not having a lot of funding actually helps you, it clears the mind in a sense. I can't go to a conference and spend 100K for 5 of my team members just to be there. I know for a fact that it won't pay out in terms of 100K. Will I go there and pay 10K to attend and present? Yeah, maybe. That makes sense. Whereas with private sales like we did for Atlas Navi, one of the reasons why we did it, because we didn't necessarily need the funding. We received €1 million from the EU for building Atlas Navi, which is a lot of money in Romania. It takes you a long way in terms of development. But we did the private sale because we wanted to, and this is typical in crypto, we wanted to build a community around the product. We wanted the community to be invested in the product. And that's worth more than the money. So if you think about it, you have people, who are contributing $250, $500, $100, whatever it was, $2,000, $5,000, whatever. But they are part of your project now. They're the first users to test your product. Trust me, they're the most critical. I gave you $500 or $200, I've invested in you, and your product sucks, they're gonna let you know very, very quickly, because it's their money in the game as well. So I think raising money through a private sale or a public sale even, it's much, much better, in my opinion, than going the traditional VC route. And that's obviously if it's that type of project, obviously.
It's a very interesting, let's say, perspective, because in my opinion, I always thought about raising money from public or private sales of tokens will basically duplicate the problems that you might have. You need to be focused on the price of a token, and also you be focused on building the actual business, and somehow you might end up caught in the middle of those two, let's say, problems. But I understand, and I understand that, let's say, enjoy it better to raise money through this kind of investment rounds. Okay. Last time I was here at this venue, I was at another event called NFT Bucharest. Shout out to Andy and Octav for that one also. And on the side of the building, there was a car parked with Atlas Navy logo on it, and it was not, let's say, an usual car for Romania. It was a Lincoln car. Why not a Lambo like all the crypto boys?
Well, that's not. It's a demo car. So it's one of the. We have two, but that's one of the autonomously equipped vehicles that we have and we tested. Basically, with all the sensors on it, allows us to, one, do mapping if we want of the roads, and we might use that with some smart city initiatives here locally. And two, it allows us to test very quickly all the computer vision algorithms that we develop. So because it's got cameras on all sides of the vehicle, it's got computers in the trunk that basically you can't put anything in there, it allows us to, on the same day, pretty much test to see if the detections are okay or not. And then we compress that model and we put it, in the Atlas Navi application. So it's a demo vehicle. It's the actual one that we got, and we bought in the States. The reason why it's a Lincoln is because at first there are some specific requirements that you need in order to have a driverless car, and one of them is obviously the computers being able to switch gears. So you can't have a proper gear selector. It's all digital, and that's one of the models that had that. And it's got all the sensors and the electronics that the people who equipped the car with all the sensors, they could tie into that. So it's a pretty common car, or it was a pretty common car to test self-driving car algorithms. NVIDIA had one, most of the tech companies in Silicon Valley had one, and it was the exact same model. So if you look online, you see videos, it's the exact same model, it's just a different color, and that's why we went the same route. So that was the reason. It's not that we drive it around every day or anything, it's just a demo vehicle.
Yeah, got it. My next question for you, and maybe I don't want to put you against the wall with this question. Nowadays, there are a lot of, let's say, discussions. Governments, companies, individuals are talking about a greener planet, a more sustainable source of energies, and things like that. Is there any points where Atlas Navy, let's say, might help in these regards, having a more sustainable future, given the fact that the app rewards the drivers that drive every day, let's say?
Yeah, that's a question that we get quite often. So we don't want to put more cars on the road. The rewards that you get for driving are always less than what you would pay for gas in each region of the world. So we're very careful about that. We don't want people just driving around, basically earning rewards and So it's not worthwhile to do that. We don't want to put more cars on the road, obviously. So that's one thing that we're careful about, not necessarily a green initiative. But one thing that we are trying to do is work with local authorities, and especially City Hall in Bucharest and other cities, to implement a system whereby at traffic lights, hopefully we will mount cameras if we get the approval. We will mount cameras that basically count how many cars are in each lane from each way of traffic, and based on that, change the colors of the traffic lights to allow flowing of the cars that's much more efficient. And at first, the first stage is to basically understand how many cars are passing through at each second or minute of the day, and then kind of do a AI model on that, basically it's just a big data algorithm that says, hey, the most efficient way to synchronize all these traffic lights is this. And that means that you're taking cars out of Bucharest at the end of the day with a lot of people leaving, and you're also making the traffic a lot more fluid when cars are coming into Bucharest in the morning with everyone coming in for work. So that's something that could, create less traffic in a sense, and hopefully decrease the carbon footprint.
Yeah, this is very, very nice. I see that we have some time. I also have one more question, if it's okay. Good. Since we are at NFT Bucharest and we are passionate about JPEGs, PNGs, and things like that, I was talking with the VP at Endava some months ago regarding the automotive industry, and we explored some use cases of blockchain and NFTs in automotive. And we discussed about how car producers nowadays are selling their cars with the entire hardware equipment already installed, and basically they enable the software features based on subscription models, monthly payments, and things like that. And I thought, yeah, that might be a really nice use case for NFTs. I'm curious, what are your thoughts on how blockchain or NFTs can be used in the automotive industry, and maybe how Atlas Navi does that?
Well, first of all, I'd love to get my hands on one of those cars and see if we can reverse engineer it and activate some of the features that we're not supposed to. And I'm sure a lot of people will, but that would be quite cool. We are going, so we do use the NFTs. You basically need an NFT to be rewarded. So in our case, the NFTs is basically just something that gives you rewards for driving. We did try quite a lot of collaborations, and we signed up almost 12 automotive partners to license their brands and 3D vehicles in our app. Unfortunately, it didn't go really well, mainly because for some reason, the car that you see on the map, you can't really tell if it's a BMW or Mercedes. It's on the smartphone, the navigation app, so it's not really visible. But we sold some NFTs that are licensed from traditional car manufacturers. Unfortunately, it doesn't make a lot of sense for us because their fees are absolutely ridiculous, I'm sorry to say. So the licensing fees are way over 50% of whatever we receive for the NFT. But I have seen some initiatives in terms of ownership of a vehicle being represented by an NFT, the whole history of a vehicle being represented by an NFT, how many miles, has it been in accidents, what the guys at Car Vertical are doing and others, that having an NFT on the blockchain and basically being trustless and secure and everything. So there are initiatives in this space. I don't know if it's the ideal use case for an NFT. In terms of blockchain technology, we do have our eyes on working with car manufacturers for a cybersecurity solution based on blockchain. So because of its decentralization, controlling access and data that flows to and from the vehicle, that's basically something that we want to encrypt on a blockchain and basically have as many cars as possible signed up to that chain. But that's 12 to 18 months into the future. We are working with 2 car manufacturers at the moment, can't name them yet, but we will see what the future brings. Sorry for going over time.
No worries. Thank you very much, George. Thank you again, Andy Octav, for this amazing event. I hope you found this talk interesting, and if you want to know more about Atlas Navi, harass George in the lobby, and if you want to know more about Webit Factory, my colleagues at the booth can help you with more infos. Thank you very much and have a nice day.
Thank you very much.